All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending. You are attending Aparo's Nonprofit Bites and Insights. These are a webinar series that are tailored for nonprofit professionals. We invite speakers and experts from all different industry to come share their knowledge and insights with us. So this month, we have been focusing on AI. Today, we are wrapping up our 4-part series. If you weren't able to attend the last three parts, all of them have been uploaded to our website as well as our YouTube channel. Just really quickly, the introduction to AI, if you're kind of new to the space and want to learn very high level what it's about, where we are, what to expect in the future, that's a great one to attend. We also did AI around the Microsoft space. So if you happen to be a Microsoft user as well as Google user, you may have heard about Copilot. If you haven't, I guarantee you will. So if you're interested in learning more, that's a great one to attend to see high level what to expect with that. And then this past Tuesday, we jumped into some ChatGPT. This is a good one if you're a beginner or have not used ChatGPT before. There was a lot of great demos on the power of ChatGPT and to give you some ideas on how to use it. If you're looking for more of that intermediate prompt engineering type level, this might not be the one for you. We are planning a webinar hopefully soon around that piece. And then finally today, we are diving into AI in the Google space. We have Steve Maykowski with us from Google to lead this conversation. Before I turn it over to him, a few housekeeping details. This webinar is being recorded and it will also be posted onto our website and our YouTube channel. All of you attending today will receive a follow-up email from me that will include the direct link, so you don't need to search for it, as well as any resources we might talk about today. Q&A box is available for you to drop in any questions. Chat box is also available for you to use. We'll be monitoring both. Quickly about Aparo. So we are a nonprofit as well. We are based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And basically what we do is we help other nonprofits with their technology challenges. So the model that we use to support this mission is we connect nonprofits with skilled volunteers and corporations. And together as a team, we support that nonprofit with anything technology related to help them improve their efficiencies so that they can work on amplifying their impact in the communities and populations that they serve. Our services are broken up into these 3 categories. We have advice, education, solutions. So those services include one-on-one coaching, one-on-one guidance on resources, solutions, tools, as well as getting connected with vetted vendors. We also offer customized team trainings if you're looking to upskill your staff. We also have educational cohort programs. So if you happen to be an organization that serves other nonprofits and you're looking for a technology-related program to provide them, we do lead some cohort programs. And then finally, we make sure that each nonprofit that comes through gets a tailored solution if that's what they're looking for. So that could look like a software selection project. It could look like a technology plan. It could look like a security plan. So those are just examples of our many, many services. If you're interested in learning more, our website is aparo.org. You can get a lot of great information there. I do want to quickly highlight one of our newer services. We have a lot of volunteers that are ready to go on this. So this is our website user experience evaluation service. Absolutely no cost to you. So what will happen is if you sign your nonprofit up, volunteers will go into your website and will use a scorecard. It will have various user experience criteria that they'll need to score on from the perspective of your key audiences. So that includes your clients, your donors, volunteers, the general public. So the image to the left is an example of the scorecards you'll receive. And the feedback is essentially to help you recognize your website's strengths, but also help you identify some areas of that could be improved. Again, this is no cost and absolutely no commitment. You can take or leave the feedback. So really great opportunity to learn more about what you can do with your website. So if that's something you're interested in for your nonprofit, there is a QR code that you can use to sign up. I'll also be dropping the link in the chat in a moment. Finally, last slide promise. These are the different ways to connect with Aparo. So if or when you decide you're interested in connecting with us for one of our services, best way is to go to our website and submit a request form, and then someone will get in contact with you. You can also subscribe to our email list to stay updated on our programming. You can also email me. I'll be happy to help. And then lastly, if you do like what we do, please consider writing a short Google review. All right, that is it for me. I'm gonna stop sharing and go ahead and turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Yintang, and thank you everyone for joining this session this afternoon. My name is Steve Maykowski. I am a customer engineer on the Google Workspace team. I've been at Google for just over 11 years, and most of that time has been focused on Google Workspace, which used to be called G Suite and Google Apps and so on and so forth. But again, this is my role at Google, is to provide customers the knowledge of how to use our products, how to make the best usage of the tools that are in the products, and so on. A little tidbit is that yesterday, September 27th, was the 25th birthday or 25th anniversary of Google. So some of you may have known that. Some of you may have seen some things on the web. So yes, happy birthday, Google. It's been an incredible 11 years, and I'm happy that everyone is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a couple of slides, and then about in the middle, we'll start showing you how we use our tools under the AI umbrella, and it is truly an umbrella of different terms and solutions. And then towards the end, as Yintang has said, we will take some questions. Hey, happy birthday, Google. Oh, thank you, Sean. Yeah, how are you? Sean and I know each other quite well. Let's take a little bit trip through history, because this is an important time in the industry of computer science and information technology. You know, if you go back to the 1960s, some of us were around then. That's when really IBM introduced the first large mainframes and the ability to use computer technology to run businesses, to do scientific applications and things like that. And they were enormous and they were expensive, but it was really the beginning of using computers in our everyday lives. And these major milestones happen about every 10 to 20 years. So if we jump out into about the 1980, actually 1981, 20 years later, IBM introduced the first personal computer. And that's actually what it was called. It's called the IBM PC. And it was a standalone box, very expensive, didn't do a lot of things, but it didn't have a graphical user interface. But it was the initial foray into bringing computers to everybody's desktop. And of course, that was followed on by the introduction of Windows, all of Apple's computers, the Apple Macintosh, and so on and so forth. Then we meaning the computer industry, figured out how to network computers together in an office environment, and we could share content. We could take a file and put it on somebody else's PC and so on and so forth. And it was great. But really what changed things is in the late 1990s, when the World Wide Web was introduced. And that was a dramatic change in the ability for almost anybody with a computer, with a web browser, to be able to get information at the tip of their fingers. It was truly a major milestone in the information technology industry. And that again was around the turn of the century. If we look towards about another 5 to 8 years later, things started to get popular with these, which everyone has now, right? So mobile devices became a must-have. And of course, in 2007, the real juggernaut was when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. And Apple has done a tremendous job in being able to bring that to the world, as well as Android and some of the other products out there. So now we take it for granted that the power we have in this little device here is way more powerful than the IBM mainframes that we talked about in the 1960s. And of course, this was followed on by the idea that I could get an application and download an application and do different things on my phone. Remember, the initial iPhone in 2007, the Apple App Store did not exist for another year or two. So you were stuck with the applications that were built into that iPhone or that Android phone at that time. And of course, opening the gates led to a lot of software developers making money, which is viable by creating these applications for Android and for iOS. And of course, the other big phone back there on the business, other big mobile device on that business side was the Blackberries. I'm sure many folks remember. So that again was around 2007, 2010. We jump ahead to 2015, and this is when we really start to hear about artificial intelligence and ML, or machine language. And it kind of started to bubble up within Google and Microsoft and the others, but it wasn't really until November of last year when ChatGPT was basically introduced to the entire world. And now anybody with a PC, with a web browser, with a phone could go out, download the application, and start asking crazy questions and having it do all these wild things. So that is today, we're at the inflection point of a major change in computer technology with artificial intelligence. Now, people get scared by that whole term, and it is, I said, an umbrella term. There's lots of pieces underneath that, which I'm not going to go into, but suffice it to say that we are at the very, very, very early stages of this. So today, what we can do with AI, or artificial intelligence, machine learning, is really just step one. And where we're going to go in the next 5 to 10 years is just going to be mind blowing, in my opinion. I'm going to show you some of the things we can do today. Hopefully, you'll get a feel for that. And this is not to say that Google is the only one who can do this. I've seen you've had a session on Copilot, right? Microsoft does a great job. ChatGPT. There's tons and tons of things coming down the pipeline that can do this. Now at Google, we divide this into, and I'll show you a slide on this, onto what we can do within Workspace and what you can do as a consumer using the general tools under Gmail and under the consumer version of Workspace. And I'll draw those distinctions as we move on. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of history there and make sure you understand that this is a major, major time and a major inflection point in the computer industry with what we're doing with AI and where this is going. All right, so let me share my screen. Okay, so Yinting, I need you to tell me if you can, if you can see this.
Yes, we see the slideshow.
All right, great. All right, so as I said, this is a new era or a real major milestone in how we get things done. Now, of course, there's lots of discussion about will this reduce the number of jobs that people do, because this definitely moves things forward as far as eliminating or reducing the time to create content in an application. And you'll see exactly what I mean when I talk about this. So there, as I said, AI, artificial intelligence, is the umbrella term. Underneath that, we have something called generative AI. In fact, in the term Chat GPT, the GPT stands for generative pre-trained transformer. Now that's not really important here, but the idea here is that these are models or pre-trained models, or let's call them data pools of information that you can talk to a bot or you can talk to an assistant to pull that information out in human format, right? Human readable format. So generative AI is a very specific type of artificial intelligence. Next to this is something called machine learning. So those of you who have on your phone, I'm pretty sure Apple iPhones can do this, but you can now go into, let's say, Google Photos. And even 5 years ago, I could find a picture of my best friend, tap his image, and do a search on just his image and find all the pictures with him in it, right? So this is a form of machine learning where the environment will learn about all the specifics of a particular image and then be able to search on that image. And this has been available for 5 years or so. So machine learning is another branch of AI. Generative AI is another branch under the AI umbrella. But you can read the slide here, right? Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that helps humans create content. And if we go down to the next paragraph, it can make humans significantly more productive, collaborative, and creative. Now, those three last words in highlight are the three words that we at Google and those of us who work with Workspace have used for many, many, many years. Even when I started in 2012, we always talked about increasing productivity, being more collaborative, being able to make it easy for users to be creative. So this is certainly pushing forward our ability to focus on those three terms and make it easier for our users. And you can see some of the quotes from others who view AI, and I'll call it generative AI, driving productive gains, unlocking growth in economics, improving customer service. Let's take an example. How can it improve customer service? Well, I'm sure we've all called, let's pick on an appliance company for the hell of it. We have a problem with our appliance. We call, we get put into a queue. We have to wait 30 minutes, on and on and on. But wouldn't it be nice if we could get pushed directly to a generative AI bot that actually can answer questions reliably for us and quickly? And that's an example of what we can do today with Gen AI. Now, as I said earlier, and I kind of painted a picture of where the computer industry has gone with with milestones and into artificial intelligence. And this is where Google has really become, or actually is a starter. Let's put it that way. We started this in 2015 when we acquired a company, I believe they are in the UK, called the DeepMind. And one of the things we did with DeepMind, and that DeepMind showed us, is that using artificial intelligence, we could have a computer play a game called Go. Go is kind of like a board game, but it's been around for many, many thousands of years, very popular in Europe and in Southeast Asia. Go, we put the best Go champion against AlphaGo, which is again a computer who understands how to play the game. And a long story short, we actually beat, or the computer actually beat, the world champion. So it was a turning point in the ability to show that we could actually train a computer how to play a game and beat the world's best. And that was pretty mind-blowing at that particular time. If we move forward, let's move to 2017. There are 8 Googlers, I should say 8 ex-Googlers, they no longer work at Google, but they wrote a paper on this thing called transformers. And as I said, the T in ChatGPT stands for transformer. This is only I believe, a 12-page white paper, scientific paper, that describes how to build these things called LLMs. LLM stands for large language models. LLMs are what generative AI tools are built upon. So when we talk about Copilot, they have a large language model that they're using to generate their content. When we talk about Duet and Workspace, we use an LLM called Palm 2 to generate all that content. So large language models are at the heart of transformers. And a transformer is the technology that is used to be able to pull the content out of an LLM in a human readable format. Excuse me. So now we move forward and we go in 2020, we have a new model called Lambda, and 2022, AlphaFold to the scientific world just blew people away because we're able to predict the structures of all known proteins. And in the world of pharmaceuticals and medicine, that was just unbelievable that we now know and can predict the structure of every single protein that exists to mankind. Huge, huge advancement in research and things like that. Okay. And you can see in 2023, we have a LLM called Palm 2. Palm 2 is what is used in Google Workspace, and it is called Duet AI. I'll show you that in a second. And it is the underlying model that we use to generate the content, which we will show you in a few minutes here. The Duet add-on to Google Workspace was just released about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So if you are a paying customer, and I know what some of the nonprofits are free, if you are a paying customer, today you can add on the Duet capabilities into your environment. And we'll talk about that further down the slides here. One thing I want to highlight is this little bullet down here, responsible AI. There are a lot of people who really look at Google in a way that they are concerned about the information that Google obtains and how that information is used. So we have become very focused on what we release with Gen AI, and we really want this to be done in a responsible way. And I won't read the bullets for you underneath that, but suffice it to say that we may not be the first to have something, but we want to be the most responsible. And we want to be responsible in a way that if you use Bard or Duet AI in Workspace and you create content, we want to make sure that that content is accurate and that it's acceptable to you, the user. So we have a lot of focus on being responsible as to what we can produce from our large language models. All right, now if you don't get anything out of my talk, I want you to make sure you understand at least 2 parts of this slide. So as I said earlier, Google Workspace has now, the paid version of Workspace has now an add-on license called Duet AI. And you can see it's a suite of Gen AI tools helping users create blah, blah, blah. Right? So when I say Duet, we're talking about the add-on features to the paid version of Workspace. Today, the free version for nonprofits does not include any generative AI features. Now, I'm going to say yet, because that may change further down the road. But today, I want to make sure everybody's clear. The free version of Workspace does not include any of the Duet AI features. I still want to show you these features because you may want to upgrade at some point. But with that said, if we go over to the left, we just introduced the second version that is available to anybody called Bard. Now, Bard is a standalone tool that allows you to do very similar things that I can do in Duet. The difference here is that Duet is integrated into things like Gmail and Google Docs and Google Slides and Google Sheet and things like that, where Bard is a standalone tool. But I'm going to give you an example of how to use both Duet and, again, how to use Bard to get similar content generated that you would do in the paid version of Workspace. Over on the right, I'm sure most people know that under Google Cloud, we have a very large offering of services under something called Google Cloud Platform, commonly known as GCP. Under GCP, we have a number of services that fall under the AI umbrella. One of those services is called Vertex AI. It's not a point of discussion for this session, but it is a set of tools that allows software developers, AI experts to go out and build their own large language models, to be able to write code against a certain model, whole different ballgame on that right pillar on the slide there. But again, if you hear Vertex AI, and sometimes it's called Vertex Duet AI, that is under the GCP pillar. Duet AI is the Google Workspace paid version. Bard is the consumer version. So I'll make sure everybody's clear about that. As I showed you in the last slide, or 2 slides ago, Google has been producing a lot of AI features in Workspace as well. So we come to 2015, and I'm not going to read all these call outs here, but one thing that really kind of started the evolution of AI in Workspace is Smart Reply and Smart Compose. And we had this first in Gmail. And I remember when I had access to it internally, I started to write responding to email messages, and Smart Compose would spit out the sentence. I'm like, wow, that's better than I even thought I could write. So it's pretty funny when you start to use Smart Compose and like, man, this thing's really good at writing content for me. It was only finishing sentences one at a time, though, where Smart Replies were just very short, again, a reply to a Gmail message. Now, Smart Compose and Smart Reply are available in chat, in our message tool on Android, and a lot of the other applications that we produce for Workspace, both on the consumer side and on the paid Workspace side as well. I was talking with Yen Ting earlier before we opened the broadcast, and we talk about content being, we talk about using Gen AI to build content. Well, there's lots of other things under AI that people don't realize. In Google Meet, and I know we're using Zoom here. In Google Meet, we have this thing called noise cancellation, and when I demonstrate noise cancellation to customers, they're kind of blown away. What I will do is I'll jump onto the Meet video conference, and I will turn off noise cancellation, and I'll take a old bag of potato chips and I'll crunch right by microphone. It makes lots of noise. And then I turn noise cancellation on and I do the same thing, and you can't hear anything but my voice. It's really quite amazing. So that if you're in a room and a dog barks, you don't hear it. If a child cries, you don't hear it. You hear a truck or a lawnmower. It's really quite amazing. The reason I bring this up is because even though this is not a Gen AI feature, this is still a machine learning feature which falls under AI. And you can see some of the other things we've done here, right? All right, so now we bring ourselves to 2023. And what we do is we built this add-on for Workspace called Duet AI. And you can see the 4 pillars there. Helps you write in Gmail and Docs, visualize images and slides, organize content in Sheets, and help you connect in Google Meet. Now, these are all based on, again, a generative AI environment, which is using a large language model called Palm 2. Not incredibly important, but make sure you understand that this is the offering for the paid version of Google Workspace. So how does this work? Well, in Google Docs, I have an icon, and I'm going to show you this live in a few minutes, that is called Help Me Write. And Help Me Write will do exactly that. You put in a prompt and you ask it to write or generate some content, and it goes out and does that. And I'm going to skip over this slide because I'm going to show you this live. If we go to the next slide, I have very similar capability in Google Sheets. And you may not be able to read it. It says, create an agenda for one-day sales kickoff event with session descriptions and status. You do this, and it builds it right for you. I don't have to do anything. It's pretty amazing, right? This is, again, in Google Sheets what we can do. In Google Slides, I have this tool called Help Me Visualize, where I can start a slide deck, and if I need an image of something, I can go in and ask it to build that image. So here, the request or the prompt is a giraffe standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, beautiful watercolor. And it goes and builds images for me. Now, it's not going out to Google and searching that. It's actually building that image based on my request, based on what it knows about what a giraffe is, what the Eiffel Tower is, and what beautiful watercolors are. So this is truly a combination of Gen AI and machine learning being put together to build this. Now, what's coming down the road, and I can't demonstrate this today, but very soon, you'll not only be able to ask it to build images, but you'll be able to ask it to build a complete slide deck. So I'll be able to say, hey, I need a slide deck that shows the new marketing promotion for this product, so on and so forth. And it'll go and do its best job at creating that slide deck. Now, of course, it's never going to be exactly what you're looking for, probably never, but it will get you to that first step. And sometimes that first step is the most challenging, right? So I'm going to show you how this works again, and I think we'll jump into that right now. All right, so I'm going to open up a new doc, right? So I open up a new tab and I type in docs.new. And Yenting, can you see this? Should I make this larger? How's that? Does that help?
Yeah, if you can make that bigger.
Is that good?
Another
Click?
Zoom. Yeah.
Sure. How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Now I'm going to cheat, and I'm only going to cheat because it's a time saving, and I discussed this with Yenting earlier, is I have some questions for the chatbot pre-laid out. So I'm just going to copy and paste them in so you don't have to see me typing and making mistakes and going back. And I told Yenting about this earlier, that sometimes this is a saving grace because I don't have to type and talk at the same time. So if you see me turn my head, it only means because I'm going to grab some content here, copy to my clipboard. Now, this is a regular Google document, nothing special about it, except I have access to the generative AI chatbot. So if I click on Help Me Write and I paste in the question. Now, these are called prompts. And if you've probably heard the term prompt engineering, prompts are very, very critical in getting the content that you want in the format that you want and the information you're looking for. So prompt engineering, believe it or not, is becoming very, very important on how you discuss or how you prompt a generative AI bot to give the information you're looking for. So this is something simple. Create a template for a customer happy hour event at Noda Brewing in Charlotte on October 4th. We're going to create, and sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes you can get things that are a little off here. So let's see what happens. All right, it says happy hour at Noda Brewing, blah, blah, blah. And you can see me scroll through this and I don't have to do anything. Now, if I were to do this from scratch, I mean, yeah, I could probably do it in 5 or 10 minutes, but that took about 4 seconds there, right? Now, the other thing I can do is I can say, go here and refine this. And let's see, add a para to the invite. Let's see if this works. Okay, there you go. Now I didn't tell it where to put it. I didn't tell it anything about aparo. It automatically put aparo here. I'm going to insert this into the doc. And now you can see my complete thing. Okay. I didn't tell it where Noda Brewing is. Looked it up for itself. I don't know if that's accurate, by the way. If it's not, let me know. And there you go, right? Simple. Down here, here's where aparo is included in the invite. So a simple example of how you can use a generative AI bot to do this. Now, again, I'm doing it directly from a Google document, which is part of the add-on feature in Duet AI. But I'll show you how you can also do this inside of BART as well. Okay, so let's close this. Let's take another example. Let's suppose I want to, this is more of a real life example. I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to put a new document. I'm going to go to Duet and I'm going to paste in the prompt that says, write a job description for a technical support role for a nonprofit in Charlotte. So we go to create. And there we go. There is the job description. Now, of course, you're probably going to want to go and change some of this, right? It may not be exactly how you need it, but at least you've gotten past that initial starting point of having to write this out time and time again. Now, I want to actually change this a little bit. I want to refine this. And you can see I can do a lot of things here. I can change the tone, summarize, bold ties, elaborate, shorten, so on and so forth. Or I can say things like add a salary range from, and I have no idea if this is accurate, so don't hold me to it, Yenting. $70,000. Okay, so I want a salary range added to the job description, and there it is. Okay, and I want to add one more thing, so I come down to refine, and I'm going to add the nonprofit is a PPARO. Okay, there you go, nonprofit apparel, so on and so forth. And I can insert this, and now I have my job description. Okay, pretty simple, pretty useful, especially if I'm someone in HR or people ops and I have to do lots and lots of job descriptions. I can create these and I can change this on the fly. I can highlight any of this and I can change it with the help me write feature in Duet. So you have the complete control over here of what you want to do, or you can have the chatbot change all this for you at any point in time. Okay. All right. Now, let's suppose this is a real job, and let's suppose that Steve, me, applies for the job, and I actually get the job, right? That would be surprising. Let's suppose I do, and I want to come over, and I'm someone in Aparo who has to send an email to me. I applied for the job, letting me know that I got the job. So let me do a compose. And I'm going to come here and notice in Gmail, I have help me write as well. So we've seen it in Docs, we now see it in Gmail. And I'm going to put the prompt in here that says, send a message to Steve, letting him know that he is the chosen candidate for the technical specialist role at Aparo, and the starting date is October 2nd. So I click this in, and this happens pretty quickly here. If you can't read it, let me just read it to you before I zoom in, because I'm going to change a few things. So say, Steve, congratulations, you have been chosen for the technical support specialist at Paro. Your starting date is October 2nd, so on and so forth. I want to refine this, and I want to elaborate a little bit. Let's see what this does. Okay, so I asked the bot to elaborate, and it said, hey, Steve, I'm excited to announce that you've been chosen. So you can see it made it a little bit more professional, a little bit more personal. And now I can insert this, and there is my email message to me. And I'll just make this bigger so you can see this. There you go. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, I don't have to write emails anymore. I can just ask the Duet bot to do that inside of Gmail. Now, where is this going? I can't show you this, but we are actually testing this internally. In Gmail and in chat, we're going to be able to ask the Gen AI bot to summarize emails. So let's suppose Yenting and I are going back, over a number of different messages in a thread, and maybe we pull in some other individuals. You could easily have a message thread grow to, or a message grow to 10, 20, 30 threads on that message. And to have to go through that and understand what's going on takes time. So we're going to bring in the concept of the ability to summarize messages or message and message threads inside of Gmail and chat as well. Now we're testing this internally, and it's actually pretty cool. I can't show you because this is being recorded. It's not released yet, so on and so forth. But you'll be able to do what I just showed you and say, can you summarize the last message from Yin Ting? And it'll go through that whole message. And if, depending on how many threads there are, it will do a summary of it, and I don't have to read it all. So that's coming amongst many other things, but I wanted to make sure you understand what we can do today and what we'll be able to do in the future. Okay, cool. Let's do another demonstration. So let's delete this. Let's open up another tab, and let's do Docs. Let's go back to Docs again. Right. So now I've asked it to create an invite for a happy hour. I showed you how we can do a job posting description in Duet. Let's take this a little bit further. Let's suppose I'm an insurance company, right? And I have to introduce 3 new products that are from 3 different companies. I'm an insurance agent. I don't create the products. I sell other companies' products, right? So I would use a document, and I would use what we call these things called smart chips. And you notice as I hover over these smart chips, I have access to all of the contracts and support documentations that I need to kickstart off this particular new offering that we're going to have. Here are the individuals I have. I can hover over their names, find out their emails. I can open details and so on and so forth. So smart chips are something that we introduced into Docs about 3 years ago, and they are now existing in Sheets as well. And they really allow the creator to produce really nice looking and very functional features inside of a document. As I said, if I look at this presentation here, right, I can say I want to open in preview, and I can preview the presentation right inside the document. I never have to open up another tab, and I can scroll through the presentation at will. Okay. But what I really want to show you here is that there's this thing called the launch document. And the launch document happens to have links to the 3 products that my insurance company is going to offer. So I need to send out an email message to my customer base, letting them know about these 3 different products. Okay. Now, I could write an email and I could put links to these just like I have here. And I could say, here they are, go read it, blah, blah, blah. But that's not really the professional way of doing things, of course. And these are all PDFs. So if I were to click on the Prudential document, you will see it will load a PDF. And it's about 24 or 25 pages long. Some of the content is obviously pretty dense, right? So I don't want to have to go through this and understand all this. I want to make this easy on myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the link for this document. Then in my blank document, I'm going to ask the chat bot to summarize this document. See, this is why I don't talk and type at the same time. Okay. And I paste in the link, and let's see what happens here. Now it's looking through about 24, 25 page PDF, and it failed. Interesting. See, I told you something to go wrong. So let's try this one more time. Summarize. See what happens here. There we go. Don't ask me why it failed the first time. Okay, so you can see here that it does a summary of it. Now, what I really want to do is I want to elaborate this a little bit for my customers. Okay, so I click on elaborate. I let the chatbot go through the content again, and now you can see it's much, much more. But I also want to make this easier to read. So let's go back and let's bulletize this. And there you go. Okay, so now I could insert this into my document, and I have a nice short summary, bulleted summary of what that 25 pages is about. Now I would do this for all 3 documents. And then what I would do is I would either send an email with the summary of it, but since this is really a marketing project I'm working on, I want to come over, and again, I have this pre-made already. I want to come over to my slide offering, right? So I want to send a link to my customers, a very short slide deck that summarizes all 3 pieces here. And you can see, again, I cheated here. I preloaded these to make sure it's easier for you to see. But this is Northwestern. This is Northwestern Mutual, and summary of what we've just did, right? Now, notice I don't have any graphics here on this particular slide. So in slides with Duet AI, I have something called Help Me Visualize. And I can say, create an image of financial security. And I go in and click on create. This takes a little bit longer than what we saw in Gmail and in Docs, but you'll see what happens here. Okay, there we go. So I said, create an image of financial security. Now remember, although these images may exist on the web, what the chat AI bot actually did is it looked at my prompt here and it built an image from what it knows, right? So these may look exactly like images you might see on the web, but these are actually built in real time. So I can just click on this and paste that image into my presentation and be done with it. Now, maybe I need a logo. Let's try one more, right? Create an image of a logo for a let's just do an insurance company. And I have no idea what I'll do. Create an image of a logo for insurance company to create. And we'll see what pulls up here. And there we go. Two more images of what it gave me here. I have no idea what that one is. Some of the things can be different, let's put it that way, but it proves that it was built on the fly here. Now, just to show you some fun things, you may see my guitars in the back. So let's create images of frogs playing guitars. Maybe I'll call my insurance company the Frog Players or something like that. One time I did pigs playing guitars, and I got some really strange pictures out of it. And there you go. So we can put this, oops, we can do this and insert this as my company image. Whoops, there we go. And here's my frogs. They look pretty good, don't they? Again, that image was actually built on the fly. You can notice the guitar is a little flaky looking, but that's what we do. That's exactly what happens here. So what we did now in a real life situation is we knew we had to start a marketing program or project where we want to introduce 3 new offerings under the insurance realm from 3 different companies. Each company has a PDF that describes this offering. My insurance company is going to sell this. I need to introduce it to my customers. So do I want to go through and read almost 100 pages of PDFs and try to understand that? I mean, it might be okay to do that at some point, but I need to get this out and introduce it quickly. So what we do is we went through and we put the PDFs and we pulled them into another document. And I can actually do it in this document. And I let the chat bot and the AI intelligence go and summarize each of those for me. I then take the summary and I automatically put those into into a slide deck here, and we can send the link to the slide deck as well. Then I can let the chat AI bot automatically create the images for me. So you've seen how we use Duet in Docs, in Gmail, in Slides, and I'll show you one more quick example. We're going to use Sheets here. So this is nothing related to what we just did, but as I said, in Sheets, we have the ability to do something called Help Me Organize. This is what you get in Duet, with Duet added on to the workspace environment. So I'm going to copy my prompt here, and I'm going to paste my prompt. And the prompt is plan a trip to the North Carolina Zoo for 20 children on October 4th. So we click create, and we let the chatbot go through and figure out what this could look like. Now, this is not going to have everything specified, but you notice that it does a pretty good job here. I did not tell it where the North Carolina Zoo is. It gave me some rough times. Of course, I would change these, made some notes for me, but at least I have a starting point, and it only took me 3 or 4 seconds to get there. That's really the power of these tools to be able to do this. Okay. One last thing is, if you do not, and you probably do not have the ability to have Duet in your workspace environment, you could sign up for Bard, right? Now, bard.google.com is our free tool that any consumer uses as long as you have a Google account. And you can do similar things here. So let me come in and let me take the same prompt. Now, it may not be exactly the same, but let me do this. I'm going to take the job description prompt. I'm going to ask Bard to do this. Let's see what Bard does here. So write a job description for technical support role for nonprofit in Charlotte. Let's see what Bard does here. It'll look different, I can tell you that, but it will still be a very similar starting point. And there you go. Okay. This one's a little bit more elaborate, but at least it's got you there. And I didn't have to use Duet to do this. Now, of course, you would have to copy and paste this into an email or to a Google document or to whatever you want. But I have the ability to use these large language models using bard.com. Right? Now, I don't know if I can do this. Let's try this. Add the salary range. I don't know if this works here, but this is a shot in the dark. Okay, I don't know if this will work. Let's see. Okay, so there it is, and there it is. So it did work. Cool. And I could go keep adding things if I want to keep refining it. So then, of course, what I would do is I could just highlight all this and copy and paste it into a doc or to an email, and we'd be done, right? Select new, paste, and there's my job description. All right, so it's 10 before, it's 9 minutes before Yinting. I'm going to come out of screen share and hopefully see if there are any questions. Let's see, how do I cancel this? Am I still sharing?
No, you're not sharing anymore.
Oh,
We
okay,
see you.
sorry. Sorry.
You're good.
Okay.
We do have quite a few questions. Do you have access to the chat and the Q&A?
Let me see. Yes, I do. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Shania. I miss you guys. Thank you for the happy birthday greeting. I love it. Megan, maybe we'll get to this. All right. I think the question, without going into all the detail, is, Megan, you are using a paid version of Workspace. You are concerned about adding Duet to that and the security and privacy features around it. The bottom line is that we, or Duet, does not make your content available outside of your Workspace environment. So that, let's say I created that job description. That is not going to be available for anybody else who uses Duet or Bard on the outside of your company. So we have strict controls over what can be shared from the large language model that is being used in your environment. Now, the whole concept of security in Workspace is a much bigger story, and there's, that could take days to discuss, but I'm happy to answer any more specific questions around it. You can also apply a Duet license on the individual, well, let me rephrase that. Duet licenses are applied to the individual users. So maybe let's assume you have 30 people in your organization. Maybe you have 2 people in marketing. You can buy the license just for those 2 individuals. That means that anybody else will not have access to the content that Duet is creating, because you have to have a license to do that. Hopefully that's clear. Try to access Bard and receive your signed into, or if you're not signed into Google Workspace. I'm afraid for go ahead, Shania. Shania, let me take that offline. I will figure out what's going on. Is that okay? Okay. Other questions?
Yep. So we have one for those of us with free nonprofit versions. Can we subscribe to AI features like we do with Google Voice?
No, you can use Bard, but you cannot get to the Duet. Will not be available to the free version of Workspace for nonprofits currently. That could change. I don't know if it's going to change, but currently, no, you cannot. You do not have access to Duet in the free version of Workspace, and you cannot purchase Duet for the free version of Workspace for nonprofits. So in other words, if you want to use Duet in Workspace, you're going to have to upgrade to a paid license and then add the Duet license to that for however many users you want to have. Okay. What about strict controls? Megan posted another one. What about strict controls internally? We do not. If we do want everyone to have access, but not access to everything. Yeah, so Duet is going to be based on the individual user's content, and will have controls over how far out it can go. So let's suppose Yenting and I are on a marketing team, and we're going to use the Duet features in Workspace that will go and produce content for us. That content is actually not stored in Drive or anywhere. It's just generated on the fly. So no one else is going to have access to that content unless Yenting or I put it in a document and we share that document. No one else will have access to that content. Now, what is coming, and this is again another feature down the road, is the ability to basically have your own LLM for your current organization. So let's suppose I have 100,000 documents in Drive in my organization. We want to be able to use the Duet to be able to search and use that content. Now you may say, well, I don't want to share my content. Well, if you don't share your content with anyone else in the organization, even Duet will not have access to it. So you have to understand the whole security model around this is really based on what is shared internally in your organization. If I have 10 documents and I don't want Duet to ever have access to that, I don't share to anyone in the organization. No one else can get to it. If I share it with Yenting, Yenting has Duet. She can ask questions against those 10 documents that I had that we've shared in Drive. Hopefully that makes it clearer, Megan. Got it. Thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome. Other questions?
You might have answered this, Steve, but I think it's related. The question is, does the help write Gmail function know or have access to related Google documents? So for example, does it know which job and description that you're referring to when you create the job description?
No, currently it does not know it currently is not linked to any content in Google Drive. Now that may change in the future, and I think it will, but right now it is just generating content based off the prompt I input and based off of what the LLM has access to, the knowledge that that LLM has. Okay, so the answer today is no. In the future, it will likely be associated with content in Drive. There are lots and lots and lots of changes coming in the next quarter and the quarter after that. The focus on this inside of Google is relentless. Let's put it that way. It is unbelievable. So it is, again, a major, major disruption in the world of IT. And hopefully once we get through once the dust settles, so to speak, the benefits will outweigh some of the negatives. Do we have to go to bar.google.com or can we integrate it? No, you cannot integrate Bard into Google Drive yet. Okay. Now there may, there may be some third parties that do this, but to my knowledge, it is not available to be integrated into Google Drive yet. So you have to use bar.google.com, create the content, copy and paste into Drive or into a doc, into a sheet, or into Gmail.
This one's interesting, kind of related, especially when you put in that link and then it was able to summarize. So the question related to that job description is, can you share the link to that, the document in Google Drive in the email to use in that prompt?
Could you repeat that? I'm not sure I follow that. So
Can you share?
Yeah.
So let's say, I'm guessing, so he has the job description or the job in a Google document in Drive. Can he use the link to that and put it into the one where you drop in that link to summarize and create a job description from that?
So I have a job description inside a document in Google Drive, and I want to summarize that. Is that what the question is?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I can summarize. I can take a link to content in Drive and ask Duet to summarize it. Yes, doesn't matter if it's a PDF, a Google document. I can ask it to summarize it. Now I have to have access to that. If Yinting, if you shared a PDF, let's say from the Paro, right, and I put it in Drive, or I open it up and I don't have access to it, I can't do a summary of that document. So here's where some of the security controls run. I'd have to go back and say, Yinting, could you give me access to that document? Then I can ask the chatbot to go and summarize it. So part of the security story. Do we have what I guess? Okay, I do not know if if you're using Bard, I do not know if Bard can summarize off of a URL. I'd have to test that. So I think what she's doing, or they're doing in Ting, is they're going into Bard and they're saying summarize a doc and putting that link, and that may not work. I haven't tried that. So I'll have to find out if Bard can summarize documents via a link. I don't know if they can do that yet. Yes, it doesn't work. Thank you.
Also, Steve, it sounds like a lot of people are having the experience that Shonya was sharing around the admin function with Bard. So if you can share your follow-up with that, and I can share it with everyone here, I think that'll be really helpful to them.
Could you rephrase that? I mean, what did you mean the security features?
So Shonya mentioned when she tried to access Bard, she received that message.
Oh, yes, I can figure
It appears, it appears other people are experiencing the same thing.
Okay. Are they using their Gmail account or are they using their workspace account? Shawnee, maybe you could reply there. If somebody who had the problem, can you try using your Gmail account and see if that works? So you'll have to log back in under your Gmail account and see if you can get to bar.google.com. You may also have to opt in for that, but there's probably a way to do that. Let me just see while people are talking here. Let me just try something real quick.
The difference between workspace and Gmail account?
Hold on one second. Let's see. I'm trying to see if Bard will summarize a PDF for me. Yeah, so I was able to, can I share my screen again?
Sure.
Anything?
Yeah.
So can you see my screen, Yenting?
Yes.
So here is the prompt. I said, summarize this document. I put in the document and it did exactly what I asked it to do. Now I didn't try a Google Doc. I don't know if that should work, but I'm not sure. But this is a PDF. So as long as you have access to the PDF and Bard, it should work. Okay, now I want to point out one thing. This is again on the consumer side. If I click on the G here, searching Google, it actually does a Google search to make sure all that content is accurate. That's what the little G below that in Bard is. So understand the results, and it shows what it found relevant, what's not relevant, so on and so forth. But again, it did work for one of those PDFs. I have not tried it with a Google document. Let's see, cancel. Got it, I think. Thank you. Who else is do we have a go-to board? So I answered that. I can't integrate it with Drive. It does work with PDFs. Difference between Workspace and Gmail account. Oh, okay. There is a large difference between a Workspace account and a Gmail account. And I won't get into all the technical details, but suffice it to say, these are two very different worlds. So we treat a Gmail or a consumer account very differently than we do a Workspace account. Even though when you're in Gmail, here's the confusing part, when you're in Gmail, it says Workspace, but it's very different on the consumer side than on the true Workspace business side. So very different there. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate you joining. Any other questions?
I know we're 4 minutes over and I want to be respectful of your time. I think the main question is helping people get access to Bard who seem to be struggling. So we'll try and take that offline. Maybe Sonia, we can connect you and see it together, and hopefully that'll be we'll resolve that issue and follow up with everyone around that.
My guess, let me interrupt you real quick, Inting, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. My guess is that they are trying to use Bard when they are logged into their Workspace account. That will not work. They have to use a consumer-based account to do that, whether it's Gmail or whatever you have. Okay. If you're using your Workspace account, it will most likely not work. I'll have to test it later, but I'll send you an update in email.
Perfect. All right, sounds good. All right, everyone. That is time. I know there are a couple more questions coming through. What I'll do is, Steve, it's okay. I'll send you some of those questions, and if you can write it out, I can follow up with everyone. We're gonna go ahead and close this. Thank you so much for your Steve. Obviously, a wealth of information. Excited about what's going on with Google. Everyone else, thank you for attending. There is going to be a survey that pops up after this. If you can complete it, that would be great. Again, more information around what you'd like to see around AI would be greatly helpful so that we can start planning for 2024 around what you need and what you'd like to know. All right, everyone, that is it for today. Have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend, and we'll see you later.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.